Hello, welcome. It is April 11th, 2023, and I'm very excited to be joined to, wait, first, my name is Jeff Bruner. That's vanity. I should introduce myself. I shouldn't assume everyone just knows who I am by sight. My name is Jeff Bruner here at WiLS, and I am excited to be joined by several of our friends from EBSCO who are going to talk to us about Panorama. And I think today's session is going to be led by somebody who's new to me. So I'm excited to have met Robert Faith. Robert, are you ready to take over?
I am.
All
Sounds
right,
good.
it's all yours.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to present this to all of you today. So my name is Rob Faith. Very quickly, I've been at EBSCO for a little over 4 years now, and I work on our software as a service team as a product specialist for Panorama, which is the product that I'm going to be presenting to you all today. We've been very excited about Panorama for a very long time. This is our library analytics tool that is relatively new on the market. And so what I would like to do for all of you in this brief presentation is just provide kind of an introductory overview of what Panorama is and the kinds of pain points that we're trying to help librarians solve with Panorama. And then I'll take you through a quick tour of the platform itself. And I'm certainly happy to stick around and answer any questions either today or as they may occur to you. So thank you so much in advance for your attention. So Panorama, this is a product that we had launched back in the summer of 2021. So we're coming up on almost 2 years now. And the response that we've gotten from librarians around the world has been very positive and very heartening for us because we really do believe that we have something special with Panorama. Panorama is all about library analytics and helping librarians to be able to capture that bigger picture of library engagement. We know that this is something that libraries around the world are spending a lot of time and energy doing. We know that libraries have a lot of stories that they need to tell around lots of different things such as how to build a strong and effective collection, stories around the kinds of reporting that needs to be done each and every year, like ACRL or IPEDS reporting, of course, but also stories around tying use of the library by patrons to metrics such as student success or perhaps faculty research output. Lots of stories that librarians need to tell with data. And what we have found in doing years of market research is just a number of pain points that really seem to be ubiquitous in the space. And I boiled them all down for you on the slide, which I'll review very quickly here. What it really comes down to is that whenever librarians are working with their data and doing the kinds of reporting and analytics that they need to do, it tends to be a very time-consuming and manual process. There tend to be lots of Excel spreadsheets that librarians are using and really over-relying on for things like counter-report data, lots of other kinds of library data as well. And librarians are working with all kinds of different platforms. It can be difficult to, pull that data together across these different data silos. So really what it boils down to is where we are right now with analytics, very typically is that it is a very manual and very time-intensive process, and very few libraries have the luxury of either having the staff and the proper amount of staff that they can allocate to working with their data, or the time. There's simply not enough time in the day to, do proper analytics, let alone many other challenges that we know librarians face on a day-to-day basis. There are other options on the market. So Panorama is not new in the sense that it's the first of its kind in terms of being a library analytics tool. We do know there are other options out there, and the two that we encounter most frequently out there are Alma Analytics for Alma libraries out there. That's kind of their own native reporting tool that comes with Alma systems, and SpringShare's LibInsights. So I have a couple of different screenshots here. This might look familiar to some of you watching this recording here. Both of these systems do what they can. They are really partial solutions at best, but they are limited in terms of, in the case of Alma Analytics, it's very much dependent on Alma data only, difficult if not impossible to integrate with other systems and get other kinds of library data in there. Whereas with SpringShare's Lib Insights, the top and the left-hand screenshots there, you can work with lots of different kinds of data, but it's still, there's very little automation outside of SpringShare products, and it's still very much dependent on the librarians manually populating that platform with their data. So we at EBSCO felt that these two platforms, as well as a number of other analytics solutions out there, were very limiting and really did very little, if anything, to address any of the pain points that you saw in the previous slide. And so we set about creating what we now know as Panorama. So Panorama is all about library analytics, and our central goal with this platform is to help libraries capture that bigger picture of user engagement with your library services, your library resources. We know there are lots of things that librarians are trying to either count or trying to measure in one way or another. So library engagement can mean things like how many physical, monographs are circulating from your library. It could also mean how many electronic resources are being accessed and by whom. And it can also mean things such as how many patrons are walking through the front door, or how many patrons are making reference and instruction appointments. So there are lots of different areas that librarians are trying to measure. And what we're doing with Panorama is we're able to aggregate as much of that library data as possible into one central Panorama platform, with the goal being to help streamline reporting workflows. So really drastically reducing the amount of time that librarians tend to take, for example, in completing the annual IPEDS or ACRL reports, but also because we are bringing all of your library data to your fingertips, so to speak. You can also use Panorama to perhaps uncover some key insights or correlations or patterns from your library engagement data that might not have been there before, might have been impossible to see before. And so with Panorama, we are adopting a modern approach to analytics. And sort of the technology trinity that we're using behind Panorama is AWS, Snowflake, and Tableau. So these are all best-in-class tools. AWS we use for the data lake to store all of your data, Snowflake to organize that into a data warehouse. And then on the front end piece of Panorama, we're using Tableau, and that's the only piece of the platform that you as the end user librarian would be using. And so what we're doing with Panorama is we are combining data from all of these disparate systems, both big and small. So there's a wide range of different library systems and tools that we can integrate with. These can be systems like your ILS, could be your discovery platform, could be some link resolver tools or other similar kinds of tools as well. And I'll go into this in a little more detail shortly here. And one of the really advantageous aspects of Panorama, something that we're really excited about here at EBSCO, is that it is a vendor agnostic platform. We certainly realize from the get-go within Panorama development that there are lots of libraries out there using a host of different vendor systems. So your particular library might be heavily invested in the EBSCO ecosystem. That's certainly great. We love that. But chances are, even if that is the case, you're very likely using a number of other tools from a number of other vendors out there. And the great thing about Panorama is that we really did design this platform to become that optimal library analytics solution for every library out there, regardless of the different source systems that you're using. And so what we do with Panorama is, as soon as a library identifies the source systems that they want to integrate with Panorama, then we go about setting up automation routines to get that data flowing from the native source system into Panorama. So typically we do this via API extraction. If we're working with any kind of modern software platforms, something like Open Athens is a good example, uses a reporting API. And therefore we use that reporting API to draw out that data into Panorama very seamlessly. But you should also know that Panorama can also work with a number of older or legacy platforms as well. And EasyProxy would be a good counter example to Open Athens. EasyProxy is a system that's been around for 20 years, hasn't changed in 20 years or so. It doesn't use an API, but we can still get that transaction log data from EasyProxy into Panorama because we do have a number of workflow scripts that we have in place, a documentation around the ideal workflows to get this data into Panorama. So we can work with lots of different systems. And what you will see in a couple of moments here when I jump into the live demo are a number of dashboards that we have built here at EBSCO already with a number of our library partners that are currently on board with Panorama. All of these dashboards are built in Tableau. They're all shared, they're all customizable, they're all configurable. And so really a big part of Panorama development has been working with libraries to identify new data source integrations, as well as building new dashboards, different ways of displaying and visualizing and filtering through a library's data. And so I'll jump more into that in a couple of seconds here. And so ultimately, what you see on the screen here is really what we want to do. This really represents how we want to transition the typical workflow of libraries around data analysis to what we offer with Panorama. We really want librarians to try to get as away from all of the manual effort as possible. So a lot of the workflows today are very manual, a lot of time spent harvesting their data from different sources, manipulating that data. It's very time consuming. It tends to leave very little time in the day to do the kinds of reporting you need to do, let alone other things, other priorities that you're working on at the library simultaneously. But with Panorama, because we are managing that data architecture for our library customers in the background, we have those automated data pipelines in place. We're utilizing automation routines to the greatest extent possible, and there might still be a little bit of manual lifting required depending on the particular data sources that you want connected. But our ultimate goal is to automate as much of the workflow as possible with Panorama, giving you far more time not only to work with your library data, do the kinds of reporting you need to do, but also free up time that you can then spend doing other library projects or other things that you've been working on. So just like any other effective software as a service, really the ultimate value of Panorama that we're driving for is saving you tremendous amounts of time, resources, and sanity when it comes to working with your data and doing the things that you need to do. So we have lots of different data source integrations available for Panorama. I don't have them all listed on the slide here. Let me jump ahead here, but there are a few examples on the slide here. So we work with, again, kind of a wide range of different library systems, as well as other campus systems as well. So you see a couple of examples on the slide here. We have connections and integrations with a number of different ILS systems, Folio, Alma, Sierra, Symphony, as well as a number of other tools that you can see here. And once again, you can see a kind of a healthy mix of both EBSCO resources and non-EBSCO resources. Panorama is completely customizable. Every library is able to choose which specific data source integrations they want to connect into their Panorama. And then once they do that, once we have those automation routines in place, then you would see your data start to populate in your Panorama dashboards, which I'm going to jump into momentarily here. You can see on the slide as well that we do have an extensive product roadmap. We're constantly working with a number of our library partners on additional data source integrations for Panorama. So you see a few other ones that are available here. And we're also working on other integrations that you see in the orange box. So we're working with libraries on building integrations to systems like DSpace or Google Analytics, et cetera. So we do have a wide range of data sources that are available both right now and also soon to be available on our product roadmap. So I hope that was a helpful kind of very quick overview of what Panorama is, what we're trying to do with the platform. And now I'm going to jump out of the PowerPoint deck here and into the live demo. And so what I would like to do is show you a couple of example dashboards, show you the front end of Panorama so you can get a better idea and a better feel for what this platform, what it looks like, and what is possible within Panorama. So again, we are using Tableau for our front end data visualization piece. So this may look familiar to you. And if you are familiar with Tableau, all of those native reporting features are present in Panorama as well. So with Panorama, we have built a number of visual dashboards for the platform, which you see right here. because I'm looking at the demo, I'm working in the demo environment right now. So we're actually pulling from anonymized customer data from a lot of different, several different customers that have given us permission to do so for demo purposes. So we have 31 dashboards that are currently available with Panorama. You also have the capability of building your own dashboards from scratch. So we do include a license, a Tableau license that does allow you to either build your own dashboards from scratch, or you can take any of the dashboards that we have already built here at EBSCO. You can modify them, you can swap visualizations, you can alter them in any way you would like to, depending on how Tableau savvy you are. So there are customization options there as far as dashboards go. But what we're trying to do, as I mentioned earlier, is that a big part of Panorama development continues to be working with libraries to build and roll out additional dashboards as well. So I'll show you a couple of different ones here. Our dashboards are ultimately designed to help you capture that bigger picture of library engagement. They're all pulling from a number of different data sources. Some dashboards are built around a single particular data source, maybe an authentication system like OpenAthens or EasyProxy. Some dashboards are pulling from multiple systems. They might be pulling from your ILS. They might be pulling encounter data from a different system, interlibrary loan data. So there's a wide range of data sources here and dashboards, different ways of working with the different kinds of library data that you have to work with. And so a good place to start within Panorama, and what we have tried to do within the platform, is really provide librarians with a number of different views, both high level and kind of down to the micro level as well, just giving you a lot of abilities to dig into your library data from specific areas of data. But a good place to start here is the library overview dashboard. So just like the name suggests, this dashboard is really designed to just give you that really high level overview, taking the pulse of how your library is doing across a number of different data metrics. So this looks different for every customer. One thing that I would like you to keep in mind as I show you a couple of these dashboards is that many of them are really just an example of what is possible within a particular dashboard. So we know, of course, that every library has their own unique reporting needs, and your library overview dashboard might look very different from this, or it might look exactly the same. If you wanted to add additional data feeds into this dashboard, you can certainly do that as well. So a big part of our implementations are customizable by nature, because we do want to make sure that our customers are not only connecting the data sources that are important to them, but we also want to make sure that we are harvesting the metrics and the data points from those source systems that every library wants to see within Panorama. So within this example here, you can see a number of different data feeds. Here we're pulling from a number of different library systems. We're pulling in circulation data from an ILS. I believe this was an ALMA library here. So you can very quickly get some numbers around the total number of loans over this period of time, going back to this day a year ago. You can toggle the filters. There's a date filter in every single Panorama dashboard, and you can go back as far in time as the data you have feeding into Panorama allows you to. So for some libraries, if they want to load in 5 or 10 years of historical ILS data into Panorama as an example, which some have done, that's totally possible. Or you can start from square one and just move forward. That's also totally acceptable, but we don't have any data caps on Panorama. So it's really up to you as far as how much historic data you would like to feed into your Panorama. And then as you can see, we can also look at some usage across a few other areas as well. We can also look at total EResource usage, patron counts and visitor statistics, just getting some very quick numbers around these specific metrics. We have some budgetary and acquisitions data here as well. And again, if this looks totally fine to you, it certainly might. But if you wanted to add additional data feeds into your overview dashboard here, you certainly have that capability as well. We're happy to do that. And then from the overview dashboard, it's kind of nice that these also function as something of a gateway into more specific, more detailed dashboards around a singular data source. So when I click into EResource Usage from the previous dashboard, it will take us right into our EResource Usage dashboard. So we have a number of different dashboards that are built around your counter data. This one is really designed to be a kind of a high-level summary of how your various e-resources are being used across the institution, and also allowing for some cross comparisons of different platforms and things like that. So because we're working with a more concrete, specific set of data. We're working with counter data here. You'll notice along the top here that the filters did change a little bit. There's still a date filter here. We can go back as far in time as the counter data feeding in here allows. But because we're looking at counter data, we can also filter by report type or platform or publisher. So lots of different filters within each of these dashboards to really be able to hone in on specific areas of data or specific insights that you're looking for. And so if we did, for instance, want to take a look at ebook usage, the moment I click on ebook usage and change that report type in the filter, you'll see all of the data in these displays will change almost instantly. So now we're looking at total ebook usage, and what we have tried to do in a lot of our dashboards like this, and this is really a kind of an example of what's typical within Panorama, is again, we really want to provide a number of different insights, both high level and also being able to zoom into more specific areas as well. So normally the first couple of visualizations along the top are looking at trends over time. So in this case, we're looking at total ebook usage over time, so we can very quickly identify total item requests, what the difference is over the previous year. That's usually followed by some sort of year-over-year visualization, as like you see here. We can see how ebook usage is trending over time with a line graph, but then we can also, again, take that same counter data and we can drill down a bit more, looking at things like ebook usage by platform or by publisher. We can look at title level details according to whichever usage metric you're looking for. So some of our visualizations are very similar to the bubble chart you see here, really designed to help you quickly identify outliers in your data. And in this case, can very quickly, very easily see that this title, what is the top requested title in terms of total item requests? And again, you can filter by different metrics as well. So lots of different ways of filtering through your counter report data, and you can do the same with within a number of other Panorama dashboards as well that are focused on other singular data sources. And also, finally, another major development within Panorama is really revolving around what we call national reporting. And we did quickly realize whenever we rolled out Panorama, we had many librarians out there who would look at the platform and they would say, this looks great, but how can it help me with things like ACRL reporting or IPEDS reporting? And we've gotten the same kind of feedback, not just in the US, but in other regions around the world that have an analogous kind of report. And so we thought that was a great idea. And while we do want our customers to be able to use Panorama as this kind of this central operational tool that allows them to dig into their library data, uncover insights or patterns that they couldn't see before, really help the library show its value, the value that it's delivering to the larger institution, we want to do all of that, but we also want Panorama to be able to cover your bases as far as the kinds of annual reporting that you need to do, things like ACRL reporting or IPEDS reporting. And so that's what we've done within Panorama as well, is we have built dashboards that are dedicated to specific surveys, specific reports like ACRL, excuse me, and IPEDS. And really the goal of these dashboards is to streamline your reporting workflows around these reports as much as humanly possible. And so for these, we're actually connecting to all of the relevant library systems that are needed, the data of which is needed to generate responses to these surveys. So we're trying to automate as much of those reports as possible within Panorama. So we are connecting and we're drawing data from systems like your ILS, from your counter report data, your interlibrary loan system, gate counts, reference and instruction data. So data sources such as those all feed into these IPEDS and ACRL dashboards. And at the moment, we can currently automate about 75% of these reports. So there might be some questions. In fact, there are some questions on there that revolve around things like staff salaries, which could be considered, more sensitive data that libraries don't want to automate. you have that option. It's perfectly acceptable either way. But what we want to do with Panorama is automate as much of these reports as well, because we do know that working with iPads, working with ACRL tends to be a kind of a major pain point that no librarians deny. It's something they don't like to do every year, but they have to do every year. They tend to spend dozens and dozens of hours doing them. And with Panorama, we want to drastically reduce the amount of time necessary to do those so that you can complete these within a couple of days rather than, a couple of months or several months. So those are a couple of we want to make sure we're covering all the bases with Panorama. And that was really just a small handful of some of the dashboards that we do offer within the platform. But I hope that did give you a little taste of and a better understanding of kind of the range of different reports and data source systems that we can work with in Panorama, and maybe give you an idea of what's possible with the platform. So with that, I hope everyone watching this found this to be very useful, and I hope you can get excited about this. And I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions that might come up. So thank you so much for your time and your patience.
Thank you very much, Robert. Anyone who's in the session live, feel free to put any questions in chat, or if you want to put your hand up, we can allow you to talk if you'd rather just ask verbally. Otherwise, I'm sure that Andrew or Paula and Daniel, none of them will mind fielding questions via email, I imagine, if we get questions after the fact. Robert, while we're giving people a chance to type out questions if they've got any, I'll just say that every time I see Panorama, it looks cooler. So I think
Thanks, Jeff.
I think we maybe got a demo like last year, and everything you showed today reinforced how cool I thought it looked then, and it looks like it's even made some advances since then. So
yeah,
I'm impressed.
I appreciate that comment, Jeff. Yeah, and that is one of the exciting things about Panorama, is that we really have development really has accelerated, and we are much farther ahead, much farther, now today than we were this time last year, even as far as integrations and dashboards. And this time last year, we didn't have the iPads or ACRL reporting capabilities. So it is a product that has grown quite a bit and will continue to become, more robust over time.
Very neat. Well, it doesn't look like any questions have come in while we've been chatting here. So I think we can probably wrap up for today. For anyone who's still here live, or anyone watching the recording, please do feel free to reach out to WiLS or to Paula or Daniel, who you talk to, I know, with some frequency as well, if you've got questions or want some more information about how Panorama can help you at your institution. Robert, Paula, Daniel, any last words before we call it a day?
No, just thanks everyone for your time, and Jeff for the
thank you very
opportunity to
much.
present Panorama.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Great.
Thank you, Jeff.
It's
Appreciate the
our pleasure.
opportunity.
Oh,
Take care, everybody.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, and yeah, thanks everyone, and happy spring.
Happy
Yes.
spring. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye all.
Yep.
Bye
Bye-bye.
everyone.